is Shimri Yo-Yo, and today we are continuing our interview series with fitness experts. And today we have Andy Luukkonen, owner of BodyFit Health Club in Uxbridge, Canada. Andy, thank you again for joining us.
You're very welcome. Pleasure to be here.
All right, we're just going to jump right into it and get a little background information from you. We want to know when and how did you first develop a love for health and fitness?
Well, I don't know if I could actually answer when, but I know that it probably developed through sports as a kid. I basically played everything I could, and I never really thought about it all that much. But the health and fitness part came probably when I was in about grade 7, and that was when my coach mandated a fitness regime for our wrestling team where we had to practice 5 days a week. And I think that's probably where it started.
Okay. Now, you said you participated in a lot of sports growing up. Did you have one that you particularly excelled at or that was your favorite?
Well, I basically tried everything. There wasn't really anything that I didn't want to try. So in public school here, we have a lot of sports that are available to us. And so I played absolutely everything I possibly could. So soccer and hockey were extracurricular, and then track and field was another extracurricular thing that I did. But I don't think that there was anything in particular that I would say that was my favorite sport. But the one that I probably excelled at the most was track and field. I threw javelin and excelled quite well in high school and competed internationally. And that's probably the one I'd say is my highlight.
Okay. Track and field star. That's awesome. Now, when you were training, did you personally use a strength and conditioning coach as an athlete growing up?
You know what? When I was doing javelin at that period of time, that was probably one of the hardest things to come by. So when I joined the club, it was primarily a hurdle or short distance club. And there was one coach there. She came in periodically. She was out of Texas, actually, and she was a shot putter. So as far as using a coach, she helped me with some strength training stuff. But ironically, it's now been 35 years later, and the one coach that I wish I ever had back in high school, I met him at one of my kids' javelin competitions. And so now, even though I wasn't able to use him when I was a kid, my kids actually now can use him as a coach. And his name is Bill Heikala. He's a once Olympic competitor for Canada in javelin, and still a phenomenal guy right now, and he's been helping us out a lot. Okay,
that's pretty good. Now, when you're not training or running your business, what are some things that you do in your spare time for fun?
Well, I've got 3 boys, and they all play baseball. So I've coached baseball now for 11 years. I've coached from all levels of house league all the way up to elite ball, and I'm also a beekeeper.
Oh, wow, that's awesome. I'm a big fan of honey, so I'm going to have to talk to you offline about some honey. All right. Well, let's jump into some of your methodology and your practice. If you could describe your training philosophy and methodology in one word, what would it be?
One word for me would be hard, but I'm going to give you 2 that kind of come to mind, and I kind of use them together. First one is movement as part of my philosophy, but awareness is more along the methodology side of things. Movement because it's where it all starts. We need to move more, and movement because it's the foundation of everything that we do, everything that I do with my clients. And awareness is because it's how we coach. We try to bring enough awareness to people in how they move. So when clients mention how much more they become aware of their own postures and movements and states, that's when we know it's starting to work with us.
Okay, that's pretty good. And that leads to my next question. Can you describe your approach to functional training and movement?
Sure. As far as functional training, for me, it's more about identifying dysfunction first. Everyone compensates, and it's our job to find it, figure out why, and try to correct it if possible.
Okay. Now, in your opinion, what's the relationship between strength and conditioning, injury prevention, and rehabilitation?
I think the 3 of those things are somewhat symbiotic. Proper strength and conditioning helps with injury prevention, and in the event of an injury, rehab is generally taking the form of some sort of modified strength conditioning program. So that's kind of what I would consider the relationship. So they always kind of work part and parcel, and one always kind of intertwines with another one.
Okay. And now, how do you help athletes or your clients to be proactive in their training and in their recovery in the event of an injury?
Planning and self-awareness, keeping logs and tracking. So basically what we'll do is we like to plan the year around their sport or whatever activities that they've got in mind, and then have them keep track of how they feel, then modify accordingly. And once you get to know an athlete as a trainer, you kind of get to know when you can push them and when you kind of have to hold back.
Okay. And now, how are speed, strength, and flexibility related? And which of those should be a priority for the athlete?
Well, most people come to us looking for speed. Generally speaking, they're saying that they want to get faster, and that's usually the goal. So for me, for a person to get faster, basically building strength alone is probably going to help them get faster. But without addressing, now flexibility is the word you use there. I also like to use the word mobility. So mobility and flexibility are likely going to be inhibited if all you do is work on strength. And so what you want to make sure is that with the mobility and flexibility, you've got great mechanics, which could be potentially limiting the joint range of motion and your ability to subsequently result, or which will eventually result in injury during speed training or competition. So basically for me, it's more about addressing what that client's goal is initially before I decide what the relationship is going to be between them.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense, and I like how you describe that. You can't get the horse before the cart before the horse, right?
Right.
Now, how do you incorporate nutrition, if at all, in your personal training?
Well, for us, it really depends on the client. We've run lots of challenges in the past where we provide them with complete meal plans. And with others, it comes about when just talking about them and reaching their goals and how much effort they want to put into it. The one thing we always discuss, though, actually is water consumption. So it really depends on the client. As far as our practice goes or our scope of practice, we're not nutritionists, we're not dietitians, so we have to be careful about how we go about that. But when it comes specifically to how it's going to affect your strength training and conditioning, then we can offer them advice that way.
Okay, makes sense. In what ways do you motivate your clients, and in what ways do you motivate yourself?
The easiest thing to help motivating clients is setting realistic goals that are achievable. Victories on a regular basis are great, and we work with lots of folks over 50, and it's the strength conditioning that brings to their everyday life the little things that motivate them the most. Simple things, for example, we have a client who she worked with us through the winter time. She likes to golf, and then the one day she came to us and she said, "You know what? The other day when I was golfing, I was able to bend down and pick the ball up right out of the hole, and I haven't been able to do that for years." So it's the little things that motivate them the most, and that's the kind of thing that we try to achieve is the stuff that they wouldn't necessarily realize necessarily in the gym all the time, but the stuff that comes to them day to day.
Okay. And for yourself, how do you find motivation as you're running your practice?
I think the things that motivate me are when my clients actually get success. The results are the biggest thing for me, and so long as they're getting the results, then I'm always motivated to come back. And if I'm not finding results right away, then I'm motivated to try and figure out why and continuously try to keep getting something from a client.
Okay. And then what are some ways that you measure progress or success for yourself and for your clients?
It's always results based on goals, and I'm pretty black and white on that one. I don't like to sugarcoat or rationalize. So, like, if you don't get a result, the idea is to find out and get it fixed. So I'm not going to tell a person, so I didn't reach a result, but you know what? It's too bad. We'll keep working hard and blah blah blah. That's not the way I do it. There's probably a reason for it. And I got to find the reason, and then we just keep working on it and go from there.
Okay. And in keeping with that, as you're tweaking and you're making adjustments, how do you balance helping your clients reach those goals or reach their physical limits without burning out or without adding increased exposure to injury?
Um, well, that goes back to the previous question about strength training, injury prevention, and rehab, I believe.
Mm.
For me, it's about planning and evaluating. And in my opinion, nobody should ever get injured in the weight room or suffer from overtraining. If that happens under the guidance of a trainer, then you should probably find a different trainer. Clients put a lot of trust in us, and causing an injury, from my opinion, is unacceptable. And as a trainer, you should know your client's limits and your scope of practice.
Okay, and that makes sense. Now, judging by the clients who have had the most progress or success under your tutelage, what are some common traits that they or shared values that they have?
Well, the one thing that comes to me the most here is consistency. They show up. It's that simple. And I think Woody Allen said it the best. 80% of success in life is just showing up.
Makes sense. All right. Now, on to your business specifically. How do you juggle your time between being a trainer and an entrepreneur?
Well, over time, I've learned to incorporate systems, policies, and procedures. And I kind of take it like a franchise mentality. And that's what helps run the business from day to day. And we spend a lot of time on training our staff, and we don't micromanage, and that allows us to take time off or work with clients and keep a flexible schedule.
Okay. Now, brag about yourself a little bit. What makes BodyFit Health Club unique?
Well, gyms have come and gone in our small town. We're actually a very small town, under 20,000 people. And ours is the only one that seems to have remained. And I believe it's because we care about each other. We care about our members. I'm sure we've made mistakes and we'll likely make more. But one thing that separates us from the other gyms are the people. We've been called Cheers of gyms. So if you recall, that's the TV show Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
Yeah, I grew up in Boston, so I know Cheers very well.
Well, there you go. Yeah, and we are just as friendly, and we are good at what we do because I only hire the best. That's kind of the way I look at it. We work very, very hard for what we've earned, and I believe we've earned every little bit of our success.
Cool. And now you've owned your gym in Uxbridge for over 2 decades now. What do you know now as a business owner that you wish you would have known when you first started your practice?
Well, they say hindsight's always 20/20, right? So one thing I wish I had done was learn more about marketing earlier on. Yeah. You can spend thousands and thousands on education, but it's literally useless if you can't get people through your door.
Yep. Oh, that's a great point and a great tip. Now, how do you determine whom you'll take on as a personal client and then whom you're going to outsource to another trainer?
For me, it really comes down to the client. A lot of the times, if it's going to be a rehab-based person, then it's going to be somebody that either myself or my lead trainer will work with. If it's a general population client, then I'll try to refer out to my other trainers because it's also my responsibility to make sure that they can earn a living. And then finally, I also leave it up to the clients themselves. Sometimes they prefer working with a male. Sometimes they prefer working with a female. So it's kind of a consultation between myself, my other trainers, and the actual client itself.
All right, it's a collaborative decision.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, your BodyFit Health Club is a family business. Can you describe what it's like to work with your wife and son on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. Well, my wife is my partner, both in my life and in the business. Having her there makes everything a lot easier. She can be very blunt with me when she needs to be, and she basically holds me accountable. We work very well together, and I'm very grateful to have her there. Now, we actually have the 3 sons, like I mentioned before. My eldest is Charlie. He has regular shifts at the gym, and when we first hired him, it wasn't really that well known that he was my son. And then when people complimented us on him, what a nice boy he was and everything else, kind of made us very proud. So it's always been a pleasure to have him. Now, our middle son, his name is Raymond. He's a couple years younger than Charlie, and he's just starting training as an employee. He is our redheaded, blue-eyed, left-handed ball of fire. Surprisingly, though, he's actually starting to take things seriously, but we'll see how it goes. However, he has been fired twice already. Our youngest guy is Reggie, and he still has a little way to go before he's going to start working regular shifts. But he's always trying to keep up with his older brothers, and so I'm sure he'll be fine.
That's awesome. Now, how, if at all, do you use technology and social media to promote your business and to do that marketing that you talked about earlier?
Yep. Well, technology and social media, a lot of that is used in our marketing communications. Our web presence is composed of our website, Facebook page, Instagram, and Twitter. And we nurture all of our leads in the background with Infusionsoft, which is our CRM, our customer relationship management tool. So, so most of it in marketing and communication.
Okay. And now, what's the biggest challenge in running your business, and what's the biggest reward in running your own business?
It's kind of part and parcel of the same thing. The biggest challenge for us is always staffing. We're very picky. We don't hire just anyone. And so when a staff member has to leave to go to another job or career or to university, it takes time to find a good replacement. And then on the contrary, the biggest reward is exactly that, finding a great staff. Great staff generally create fewer worries for us, which allows us to take time off knowing that the business is in good hands.
That's awesome. And thank you again for your time, Andy. You've been a great interview. Just a couple more questions here.
Sure.
And just, do you have any resources that you would recommend to our audience? Any books, magazines, podcasts that you think would be helpful?
Sure. For trainers and other coaches, I really like the book called Movement by Gray Cook. And depending on how deep a person wants to get into it, I also like Diagnosis and Treatment of Movement Impairment Syndrome by Shirley Sarman. I follow other trainers and coaches such as Eric Cressy, Mike Reinhold, Dean Somerset, Mike Robertson, Mike Hoyle. Those are some of the bigger names. And then for more business-related resources, anything marketing material-wise, I look to Dan Kennedy for a lot of that stuff. He's very insightful and has just a different approach to looking at things. And then another really good book for a very unique way of delivering customer service is called Secret Service by John DeJulius.
Okay. Well, those are great resources. Thank you again. I'm sure our audience will appreciate diving into some of those resources. Lastly, Andy, what's next for you in your business?
Well, although our club kind of appeals to a very broad demographic, we're building on our services for the 50-plus population. And in addition to that, we want to be able to offer more professional services, both by myself and referral out. And so I'm actually seriously looking into furthering my education in the field of osteopathy.
Okay. Well, that's a great goal, man. Good luck with that. So thank you again for your time. It's been great, and we look forward to hearing back from you down the road. Would love to catch up and see how your continuing education is going.
Yeah, that'll be fantastic anytime.